Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show episode, I don't even know what we're on, 520-something, Mr. Somich.
Oh, Pegasus, huzzah! It's back again.
It's Pegasus. That's what it is. I forget numbers. It doesn't matter. This is the Pegasus Day. We're so excited it's back. Everybody at the Racing Dudes team is excited for this. One of the more exciting racing days of the whole calendar, especially this early on. And we've got an all-graded stakes late pick 5 for you Saturday, January 27th at Gulfstream Park. And Mr. Sandwich is going to be pretty fun. We've got some unfun things to talk about as well in horse racing. Let's save that for after the show because I'm excited to talk about all these races with you.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. We'll get to that. Okay, we'll get to that at the end. We'll keep it positive here early before we go off on Naira. Interesting to see how this race has evolved, right, through the years. Originally, the idea was 12 owners, $12 million, huge purse. Everybody, buy your way into the race, have a massive race. We've seen that kind of tick down consistently. And it's interesting because the field we end up here is, I mean, if you don't like National Treasure, it's absolutely wide open. Spoiler alert, I'm not a big National Treasure guy. So to me, the Pegasus is absolutely wide open. And the early card is a lot of fun too. A lot of really good stakes races. Don't forget, we every now and then have phenomenal 2 or 3-year-olds debut on this day as well. I think the last 2 years we've had horses that debuted that ended up being talked about, Triple Crown contenders. Maybe it was last
horse named Mage, debuted on Pegasus Day.
the I can't remember the horse's name for the life of me because he was such a disappointment. But the Mott trainee that broke from the one post on the when I was there in the rain,
Hidden Connection.
Yeah, who became probably the most hyped horse in horse racing for a good 2-month stretch there without ever winning a race. So you have some of these Hidden Scroll. That was it. It was Hidden Scroll. Thank you, Rob.
Oh.
You have some of these horses that debut and they look like gangbusters, but we'll see what we get in this version of it. The second race specifically looks like if there's any race that you have a horse come from that ends up in the Derby Trail, it's from that second race.
Yeah, Hidden Scroll. That Hidden Connection's a different. That's the other Mott horse. That's Hidden Scroll. That was, oh boy. That was a horse. That was an interesting one. We're just completely. And you were there, like you said. You saw Mott. You said afterwards, I should have known because Mott was just dressed to the nines, and it's not because he had a horse in the Pegasus that day. It was because of Hidden Scroll. So at least he was dressed up for that occasion. But we have a special occasion. Go ahead.
It was also pouring rain that day, and Bill Mott, dressed to the nines, is just standing by the winner's circle before the race. He's like, yeah, I know what's about to happen here. We're about to unleash something, and very much so, unleash something. And then was complete shit for the rest of his career. The only time you ever did that in Hidden Scroll's career, but hey, it worked out for him when it mattered.
Mage was Mage came out of the debuting that day too, and a different year. Obviously, it was last year when he debuted, but your Kentucky Derby winner from last year debuted Pegasus World Cup Day, and of course, there's 7 stakes total. We're going to cover 5 of them in this sequence, but you've got the McKnight and the, what's the other one? The La Prevoyante. They're both 1.5-mile turf races, the marathon races. That's in the middle of the card. You've got a couple synthetic handicap races. Just the one maiden race. And I know that Vinny Blond is super excited because his favorite loser of all time, Tacitus, his full brother, Batten Down, which I think is a great name, is debuting in race 2 at Gulfstream Park. I say it's a great name because the dam is closed hatches. Batten down the hatches. I thought that was a really good one. So, Flavien Prat riding for Bill Mott. Maybe you see some more specialty come out of that race. I don't know.
I did not know that was the full brother, and I picked that one on top. So, probably going to finish third.
He is. Hey, listen, Tacitus broke his maiden, and at some point, I think he won another race or two. But maybe. Yeah, we'll see what Batten down the hatches does. But we're not covering that race. We are covering races 9 through 13. Ending in the Pegasus World Cup. Let's get into it, buddy. Ride it up! All right, first leg of the Pegasus Day Late Pick 5 on Saturday, January 27th. Race 9, it's the Inside Information Stakes. A field of 10 older fillies and mares sprinting 7 furlongs on the dirt. Your defending champion, Mary Quite Contrary, is the 2-1 favorite, but plenty of ways to go. Where'd you go on top?
Yeah, I'm gonna not use Mary Quite Contrary in this spot. She is the defending champion, very good at the distance, 4 for 8 lifetime with 3 seconds. Loves Gulfstream Park, 7 for 9 with 2 seconds. So never not run first or second. I'm gonna try and beat her here though, just because I do think this is a pretty deep field, and she caught what I think is a pretty weak group last year, and I don't think that this is nearly as weak of a group this year. I'm going to go to the 3-horse Intrepid Daydream on top here. This is going to be second out for Safi Joseph Jr. The horse looked really good first out. That was in the Sugar Swirl, the grade 3, which is kind of, I guess, what we call it the local prep for this. Wasn't able to get past your winner, Spirit Wind, but really tried the entire time to grind her down. I think Intrepid Daydream takes a step forward off that race second time, and Safi's barn is going to be awfully tough here. So I'll put the 3 on top at 5-2.
I went 5 deep in here, and she was the last one on, and I respectfully disagree. I didn't think she looked great in the Sugar Swirl. I thought that she looked like she was gasping, and she got second because within half a length because Spirit Wind was on the lead, and that's a 5-furlong horse that somehow she got enough of an early lead that she was able to hold on and keep the win there. I did use her because it is Safi and because Tyler Gaffleon is going to ride back. This is a filly too that she's a mare now, but before she was with Safi, she was with Gary Capuano at Laurel and Delaware Park and Colonial, and she was just beating up on those horses she was facing in lots of stakes races. Much lesser competition, but just especially those last 3 races that she had, she's winning at 6, she's winning at 7. She looked very good, so I used her in here. I have a $1 ticket that's only going to cost $80, so it's a $40 for 50 cents. So I'm pressing pretty hard in some spots. So I did use Intrepid Daydream, but I did put the favorite on top. She's defending champ. She's horse for course, horse for distance. You made my argument for me, so we'll just move on from those 2. We have agreement on 2 others. You want to talk about the other Safi first?
Sure. I'll talk about the other Safi first. That's going to be the 1-horse Bluefield. On the inside here gets Flavian Pratt this time. Third off the layoff here. Was in the Sugar Swirl. I didn't get the cleanest of trip from the 1 post that day. Kind of wish we drew a different draw. I was like, wait a second. What are you talking?
She's wide. Sorry, I realized after I did it what that motion meant. Sorry.
She was about 7 wide there, so it was one of those spots where you're like, okay, with a better trip, I think she has a much better chance to win here. Interesting that you see Zaya's come off this horse. Safi's leading rider, so I'm wondering kind of what's going on there, but the fact that you pick up Flavian Pratt, I think is a pretty big positive here. Lost to Mary Quite Contrary 2 back at Gulfstream. That was at 7. I think she's much better horse here at 6, so I think this is the right distance for her. Going to have to jump up third off the layoff here, but this is an 8-year-old. You kind of expect it's going to take a couple starts for her to get to her best. So that last effort in the Sugar Swirl I thought was good enough to include her on here, especially a 6-1 price. I expect that's going to float up too before post. I don't think she's going to get bet too heavily just because of the last.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was a super wide. That's what I was doing this motion for in the Sugar Swirl and was up against it pace-wise. But with respect to Zayas and Camacho, it's such a major upgrade to Flavian Pratt, and that's what sold me on the 1 Bluefield. The other horse we agree on is the number 10, Olivia Darling, also coming out of the Sugar Swirl Stakes. I thought that was a much better third than what Intrepid Daydream's second was. She was gaining very quickly at the end. Again, was up against it pace-wise because Irad's brother, Jose, just went out gate to wire on Spirit Wind. Irad keeps the mount on Olivia Darling. The 10 post, she's going to come from out of it, so that doesn't bother me at all. So that's why I liked the 10. What about you?
Yeah, I was between the 10 and the 3 for the top pick. And the 10, okay. I thought I agree with you. That last race I thought was very good in the Sugar Swirl. Didn't really kick in until it was too late and was making up ground. With a better trip, I think she probably has a better finish. She was a little further back there than I expected in the Sugar Swirl. Generally, you're going to see her a little bit more forwardly placed. I think that's what we're going to do from the 10 post here. I think you're going to see Olivia Darling sitting in that, we'll call it 3rd, 4th spot, somewhere right in there in this 10-horse field and be able to get a clean trip from the outside. Shouldn't have to give up too much ground either. Like when you're in these outside posts, sometimes you don't want to be like a dead closer because you end up 6-7 wide. She should be in one of those spots where she only has to give up 1 or 2 paths around the far turn and hopefully takes the lead with about 1/8 of a furlong to go about 1/8 of a mile to go and is able to hold them off.
Now I can understand if you wanted it with those 3-4 horses that we've talked about, if that's where you want to stop. I'm going to use a long shot in here who I think is very sneaky. And if I can get 12-1 on the number 2-item Saver, I'm going to be very excited, at least until they race. If she ends up not running well, then I guess I'm not that excited. She was 12-1 for a reason. But if you look at her career, she's very lightly raced, 5 starts. She has 3 wins. So scratch out the debut. It was with Dallas Stewart, 37-1. She was expected to win. And lost to Hoosier Philly, who Shotty's in the chat. Shotty, can you tell us if Hoosier Philly did anything else as a 2-year-old? I know her 3-year-old season was pretty meh, but yeah, Hoosier Philly pretty dominant as a 2-year-old. But then switches to the Correas barn, almost misses a whole year, and then breaks the maiden very impressively, going 6 furlongs. Stretches up to 7 furlongs at Keeneland and a $110,000 allowance in the fall meet, and it's a 4-horse field. She won by 13.5 lengths. I don't care that it was a 4-horse field. It was straight allowance runners at Keeneland in the fall meet, and she dusted them at this distance. They tried stretching her out. That was a mistake. Correas brings her back to a 6.5 furlongs, and she wins that one. So I've got a filly that in 3 sprints for this trainer, all wins. 2 of those were 6.5 or 7 furlongs, so this distance shouldn't be an issue. And now I've got Junior Alvarado riding, and I know that from a speed figure standpoint, she needs to take a good step forward, even from that Keeneland race. That's her best time form number. She needs a big step forward to compete with the biggest horses in here. But Alvarado is known for popping big wins on Pegasus Day, Art Collector, Speaker's Corner, Happy Boy Rocket. That's just in the last 2 years. He was on Hidden Scroll, I believe, back when Hidden Scroll won too. So I like that Alvarado's riding. I like Alvarado on a closer, especially on dirt. So I used the 2-item saver. She didn't make your ticket, obviously. What was kind of the deciding factor for you here?
So I had 2 prices that I left off the ticket here, and 2-item saver was one of the 2. I agree with everything you said. Look, this is a lightly raced horse who has a chance to take a big-time step forward. I don't think this is a group of world beaters, so there is a world where she takes the step forward, is able to beat them here. Corrales, when he trains, he doesn't overplace horses generally, so I thought it was an interesting note that she shows up here and that this is where we decide to take on, I guess we'll call them the older horses, since she's one of the only 2 4-year-olds in this spot. Should get a pretty good trip. To me, it was just, I'm a little concerned about the step up. It's why I stopped at 3 instead of going 5 deep. The other price I thought about using, I'm not sure if you used this one, was Sassy Nature, the 7. Is that the last horse on your ticket?
No, I've used all of mine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I Sassy Nature is the other price that I thought about using here. And this is one of those where you kind of look at this horse's career and what it's gone through. You've got those early races with Luis Mendez, who we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast. Very good with younger horses, especially earlier in their career. That's where she breaks the maiden, switches over to Sisterson, 2 for 2 in the Sisterson barn. Now, those were both over turf. Then switches over back to Mendez. He campaigns her for a while, then goes to Doug O'Neill. Now we're back in the Sisterson barn. I expect this horse to be a serious pace presence. I'm not sure that the 6 furlongs on the dirt is the right necessarily the correct distance and surface that she wants. But man, like, she could be that horse that steals this going gate to wire as someone who you're like, well, yeah, no, that makes total logical sense. You could have used that 15-1 shot and with this field without anyone else. So I'm like, yeah, that horse is 100% going. I think Sassy Nature's got a shot to go gate to wire 15-1.
Yeah, I didn't use, but Kevin brings up the Jack Sisterson 32% turf to dirt. Her dirt efforts were really kind of blah to me. She was beating up on Calabreds at Santa Anita, like where she was supposed to kind of do that. This is a tough spot. I know I appreciate Sisterson taking a shot, and she is a potential gate to wire threat, but I just don't see her at 7 furlongs on dirt handling this. It's a lot harder to last 7 furlongs on the dirt than it is on turf, which is what she's much more used to recently. So not on that one. Let's go real quick before we get out of here. Sean Nesbitt and Mark Elliott, like within seconds of each other, we're talking about gerrymander. Mike, I'm not using gerrymander because why? Like, her one win in the last century was a grade 3 off turf race against one other horse that she beat by 25 lengths, but she got caught at a mile at Saratoga to Nostalgic. She got caught at a mile to 63 Caliber, who I own. Not a big impressive thing for 63 Caliber to come and catch you. She got caught at a mile. Like, the shortening up to 7 furlongs, I don't see how that's going to suddenly make her better. I think that she just kind of runs in place. She'll probably hit the board, get third, beaten 5 or 6 lengths, and we'll go, yeah, that's the gerrymander we've seen for 3 years now.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that, like, you go look through a form and you're like, oh, this, you can't point to a race and be like, that's the race that's going to really be able to beat them, right? And she's been running a mile in New York and doing just fine there in like NX3 company, but you get her up into the stakes level and it's not very impressive. You have 2 races at 7 furlongs. She missed the board at both of those. To me, that, like, this is just a horse that I think the barn thinks she's a little better than she actually is, or maybe she's a little bit better in the morning and just too good to put into the super high end claiming ranks, but not good enough to necessarily be able to win when you jump into the graded stakes level. And she's used her conditions, and so it's a really tough horse to place at this point because she's got 4 wins. You can't put her in N3X, so you really optional claiming now is your only choice, and those are very, very tough races when they're open company optional claimers, especially for the 80K, 100K that you want to be running her for. So I get why you end up in this spot. I just don't really see a path to victory for her. Like, she can't get the lead. Sassy Nature's faster than her. She doesn't really have a closing kick where you're like, well, if she gets by Sassy Nature, she's going to run away from him. Probably won't. Like, she's not that fast when that happens. So to me, this is just a horse that's kind of caught in the middle in a bunch of different regards, both in her career as well as in this race.
One other thing, and Mark brings up a good point too. Chad Brown, it's a Chad Brown dirt horse on a big day, unless it's Goodnight Olive. Like, not touching that one. But this is a Kalleward Stables owned horse. She's raced 15 times since June of 2021. She's never had Chad's first call Kalleward jockey on her once. Irad has never touched this horse in the afternoon. I'm like, okay, if Irad doesn't deem it good enough for him to ride this horse, that's a big red flag to me. And before we move on, Mark, I did notice Rosario was on Hidden Scroll. Thank you for that correction. I'm used to thinking Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott, but Mott does, as we'll talk about with another horse later, Mott does like to use other jockeys on some of his bigger horses.
Yeah, and back to Gerrymander, it's not like she wasn't in the same spots that Irad Ortiz Jr. was either, right? I mean, multiple races at Saratoga, Belmont, when he was there, and you see Dylan Davis and Joel Rosario up. Like, it kind of tips your hand on where they feel like the horse is, and so you kind of have to respect it. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Jose Ortiz and Chad Brown win this race, but I'm not. I mean, she's 8-1 in the morning line. She probably goes off somewhere around 5-6-1 because these connections always take money. And I've been an anti-Chad Brown dirt guy for a while. He's not been good on the turf, synthetic, or dirt in this Gulfstream meet so far. So the last thing I want to do is take what I think is going to be an undervalued price on a horse that I'm not all that scared of.
All right, we'll move on to the second leg of the late pick 5, Saturday, January 27th at Gulfstream Park. Race 10 is the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. This is a grade 2 race now for 12 older fillies going 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf course. Where'd you go on top?
I'm surprised you're not using the horse. I'm going to go with the 4-star Fortress on top. It's your favorite in this race, so not getting all that creative here. Was absolutely phenomenal at Churchill Downs, first time out for Cherie DeVoe. Saez rode that day. Saez picks them out back up here. She just looked like a beast when she was running in that one. Ended up winning by 10 lengths and absolutely opening up on the field. That day we were going 1 mile and 1/8. Today we're going 1 mile and 1/16, so cutting back a little bit. Don't absolutely love the running style, but I do think she is the most talented horse that we're going to see in this field, so I put the 4 on top in this spot.
So here's why I don't like this horse. She's got exactly one race in her entire form that you can point to and says that she's a player here. And it came on a shitty Churchill Downs turf course on Thanksgiving weekend when every single good female turf horse in this country is either done after the Breeders' Cup or they're over at Del Mar. And if you need further proof of that, look at who she beat in that race. Yeah, she beat him by 10 lengths. She beat a bunch of claimers by 10 lengths in a grade 3 on an absolutely shitty turf course. And on top of that, she's never run just 1 mile and 1/16. It's 1 mile and 1/8, 1.5 miles, 1 mile and 1/4. This is not the right spot for her. She should be in the Pegasus turf. Now, she'd probably get killed in the Pegasus turf, but she should be over there if she's good at longer distances, or in the La Prevoyante, which is the 1.5 mile race earlier on the card. But she got invited to this spot. The trainer and the connections would be quite dumb to pass up on that for this filly, or for this mare. But I looked at that race and I was like, okay, she beat a bunch of nothing. She beat 5 nothings on a trash turf course. And now you're expecting her to come here when there's a horse, my top pick, Didia, that if you scratch off her Breeders' Cup try when she was just in over her head, she fits this race like a star. And my argument is 6-1 is way too high on her. She won 9 of her first 10 turf starts and lost a grade 1 New York race by just 3/4 of a length. That is leaps and bounds better than the 5 trash horses that Star Fortress beat on a trash turf course at Churchill Downs.
Well, you're just taking out your hatred for CDI's turf course on Star Fortress here. I see how it is. Look, I have Didia second. I don't disagree with anything you said. I'm using Didia as well. The one thing that you were incorrect about is that she's 6-1. She's going to be your favorite or close to favorite when they break from the gate in this race. I mean, I'm guessing 3-1.
I've seen a lot of love for Star Fortress, which I'm excited about because I don't want to play her, but you could be right.
I've seen a lot of love for Didia. I was expecting Didia to get hammered in this spot. I know a lot of people who cashed on this horse too at what was it? Was it Derby Day? I think it was. That absolutely loved her as well. So I would be surprised if she doesn't get bet down from this, because everything you said about her is absolutely correct. Look, if you scratch out the Breeders' Cup effort where she was in overhead, and by the way, she still ran well. I mean, she only lost by 4 lengths. Yeah, she was 10th, but she wasn't that far off that day. there's really nothing you can knock on her. She's improving. This is a horse that's gotten better in almost every single one of her starts. You have no issues from a distance perspective. She's 3 for 3 going the mile on the 16th, which is, I know, one of your concerns around the 4. So she makes a ton of sense. The price is what's going to be really interesting here. I mean, I figured she was going to go off favored or close to it with the 4, that they would basically be co-favorites in this spot.
And you did use her. She is on your ticket. So it's not that I'm trying to, not that I was saying you were wrong for using Star Fortress because of Didia. You are using Didia as well. The price will be interesting. So will the price be interesting on the number 7 Fluffy Socks, who's my second choice in here. And I really, when I saw this field, I was like, oh boy, I'm going to beat Fluffy Socks at 9-2. And then I dove into this and I was like, shit, that grade 1 matriarch last out for Fluffy Socks, that was really good. She had a super wide run in the far turn, and her stablemate that just beat her by a head, Surge Capacity, just sat on the rail, and you know that chute at Del Mar, as soon as the rail disappears and the chute's there and it opens up, Surge Capacity literally just surged right through that spot. Fluffy Socks, I don't think saw her until it was way too late. So Fluffy Socks loves to break hearts, right? You look through her field here. She gets second 9 times on 22 career starts with just 5 wins. But this to me looks like the type of field that she is capable of beating. And this is where Irad Ortiz Jr. is going to stay. He does love to ride this horse quite often. So I'll take Irad on Fluffy Socks. And if Diddy is going to take money down from 6-1, maybe Fluffy Socks holds at 9-2 or gets better than that.
Maybe. I mean, I looked at this horse long and hard. I don't get Fluffy Socks right. I had this horse last time.
Same.
It was just wildly frustrating that Fluffy Socks lost that race. And my biggest concern here with her is you mentioned it. I mean, she just doesn't like to win. I mean, she's won for her last 11 with 6 seconds, right? That's brutal as someone who likes to bet these type of horses. And yeah, she had a nice run early in her career, but that was before she moved up into the stakes levels. And she wasn't winning races at that point that were like, oh yeah, no, we need to point that one out. Now, last year, she did run 5 times, 1 win, 2 seconds, 1/3. So she's always going to be there. She's someone like you have to use if you're playing tries, if you're in the exotic type world. But I don't trust that Fluffy Socks is going to be able to get it done in this spot. And like I said, I was between the 7 and the 11 for 4th. So it's not like I completely think there's no chance here. It's just 9-2. No thanks. I went to the 8 Queen Goddess, who won this race last year. And sat kind of the perfect trip to win this race. And I think is going to get a very similar trip in this spot. You want to have some speed on the Gulfstream Park turf course. You don't necessarily want to be in the lead. It's nice when you go gate to wire, but you kind of need to have no pressure if you're going to be able to do so. And Queen Goddess should sit that perfect trip, sitting in 2nd, sitting in 3rd, just like she did last year. She was in 4th last year early, 3rd at the half-mile point, able to get it done over Shantasara, who got a brutal trip. I freaking bet that horse last year. And Shantasara actually went up the favorite in that race, too. I was still shocked. But Queen Goddess has not been as solid since that race. Now she's getting back to a course she really likes, back to a distance that she really likes. She was trying grade 2 and grade 1 mile efforts the last 2, not really her cup of tea. I think that we're going to see a better effort here from Queen Goddess and revert back to kind of the form that we saw at Gulfstream Park last year.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on. I am passing on Queen Goddess because she is out of form, and I have not liked the races that she had. Also, if you look at the field that she beat in last year's race and compare it to this one, I don't think it's that close. The favorite that day was actually Wakanaka, I've never liked Wakanaka. The one time I did like her was her last career race, and she was so bad they retired her after it. Delika was in that race. She was 4th. Shantasara just did Shantasara things and frustrate the hell out of you like when every time you want to play her. I'm going to pass on Queen Goddess in this spot. There's nothing about it that really excites me. And other than the fact that she's 6-1, so I'm hoping that she can, keep that, take a lot of money. And also, like the matriarch, she's a California horse. Fluffy Socks, Surge Capacity came in there, beat the hell out of her. Like she had nothing for them in that spot. So I think at age 6, this might be her last start. And then she goes off to be a mama. And, a very solid career. Almost $900,000 earned. Next up for me, I've seen people talking about it. Ed Burke, my fellow Michigander, the 11 Mission of Joy. This one's exciting. 8 of her 9 turf starts I thought have been very competitive, including last out. She was 3rd, beaten 1 length in the QE2 Cup, a grade 1 race at Keeneland, won by Maj, who just missed winning the Breeders' Cup Mile out of that spot. 2 back, she lost to my top pick in race 6 on this same card, that being Alpha Bella. So I really think Mission of Joy at 10-1 will be forgotten about. And it's just, to me, it feels like a classic Grand Motion horse where it's like, she's going to show up. She's going to give you that good effort. As long as Johnny V doesn't try to put her on the lead like Tyler tried in the Belmont Oaks, That didn't work out too well for her, but you scratch that race out. She's got so many competitive races here, including 4 victories that I think really make her an outside chance. The biggest concern, I think, for me with Mission of Joy is the post, but if you look at where she likes to run, it can be mid-pack, it can be off a little bit. So I'm going to trust that Johnny V puts her in the right spot.
Yeah, my biggest issue with Mission of Joy is that the number she got in the QE2. Like I just, anytime you have one of these horses that runs, what was that, almost 10 points higher from a career buyer perspective, you got to wonder, okay, what stepped her up? And then you see that's also her only effort over a good turf. So I don't know how much that good turf helped her out to be able to step up from a numbers perspective in that race. This is, again, like I said, I was looking at the 7, I was looking at the 11, looked a little at the 6. Those are the 3 horses that were going back and forth for me on and off the ticket. And in this case, the 11 ended up off of it because of the fact that last race was such a standout, and I'm not sure she's able to replicate it, especially since we're not over a good turf. And B, the post. She seems to be a horse that does her best running when she's forwardly placed, or at least in the mix early. And breaking from the 11 post, when you're going this distance, the mile and 16th at Gulfstream is just not a great place to be if you want to be forwardly placed at all, unless you're going to be on the lead. Right.
Yeah, a couple of scratches would definitely make her more enticing, but the post is concerning. Last one for me, and then Dennis will talk about that horse you want to mention. Number 2, Chili Flag. Chad Brown, Flavien Prat, 20-1 on the turf. Hell yeah, I'll take this one. Her 2 best races since she came to America from France were at this distance, including winning her stakes debut last time out at Aqueduct. Now, it was Aqueduct in the fall, not a lot in middle of November, so like I just said with Star Fortress, the good horses weren't there. But she's 20-1 here, and I'm getting Flavien Prat, and she's never missed the board in any of her North American turf starts. She's been very competitive, very close, and unlike the 11, they also like to be forwardly placed, she's got a post too. So she has a much better post than the 11 Mission of Joy does here. So I'm going to use a Chili Flag at 20-1, and I know you're going to say, I'm not going to talk after 20-1 shot.
No, I won't. I mean, hopefully you're using Sister Luann too then, since they were only ahead apart, 3 back at Saratoga. But no, I look, like you said, it's Chad Brown, Flavien Prat, 20-1. If you like her, you like her. If she's not for me.
Dennis is talking about the 20-1 12 post horse. Surprisingly, first time out for Todd Pletcher. She was bought by the commissioner of horse racing last November for $1 million. And Todd Pletcher thought she had such a great chance that he signed up a Shane Murphy to ride this horse. Well, no Irad, no Tyler, no Javier, no John, no Jose, no Paco, no Edgar Zayas. We're going to roll with a Shane Murphy. No shot at Shane Murphy, but it's a Shane Murphy riding for Todd Pletcher. This isn't something that you go, yeah, that's winning connections right there.
I will say he had the worst ride so far early this year. Worst ride ever. Saturday. I think it was Saturday. 2-horse race number 2 or 3 at Gulfstream. Maybe it was 4. I can't remember. It was early in the Gulfstream card on the 2-horse where it absolutely should have won. Just an atrocious ride from O'Shane Murphy. Yeah, no thanks. No, I mean, again, this is a horse that needs to take a big time step forward and is doing it from a bad post. Like I would much rather take a shot on someone like the 2 who's trying to do it from a bad post or doing it from a good post with the connections. And, the connections are fine with the 12. Like, O'Shane Murphy, he's a professional jockey. It's not like you'd rather have someone else, but it's not like it's the worst ever. Did you look at the 6 Ruby Nell at all? I mean, that's the other horse that feels like if you have a Gates Ryo horse, it's Ruby Nell who does it. Coming in here for Mandela, you get the Tory up. The matriarch, when you watch it, didn't make the lead. The race was over for it as soon as that happened. Not sure where else the pace comes from if it's not Ruby Nell in this spot.
I considered her, there's also the factor of Mandela shipping out of California, which he never does. Kevin was asking about stats. I remember that was it. The only 2 times he's ever shipped to Monmouth, he won the Haskell both times. So
yeah,
he doesn't ship out of Monmouth. He doesn't ship out of California very often. And as former owners of Tiz a Magician, where races were hard to find that fit him, it was a little frustrating at times. Like, just send the damn horse out of state once in a while, and he'll actually still be able to run in some good races for him. But this one, it's like, you look at the Del Mar Oaks was really kind of the deciding factor for me for Ruby Nell when she had everything her own way. She had a 4-length lead at one point on those horses, and she faded so badly that she was beaten 4.5 lengths. Anisette won that race. Anisette's an awesome filly. Be Your Best was second. Impact Warrior was third. No, that doesn't excite me at all. That she hit that mile marker in the Del Mar Oaks and went backwards. The matriarch I won't hold against her because she didn't get to the lead. Maldonado just decided to let her walk out of the gate like he was Flo on Nash. So that didn't work out for her, but yeah, she beats up on the California horse. She's a fantastic California horse. This is a much better field than what she's faced in the past, other than the matriarch. And again, with the matriarch, I love Fluffy Socks out of that.
Yeah, I mean, the Doc's bringing up the 3. This is going to be your other speed, Accomplished Girl, who's going to try and go, coming out of sprints. And so the question is really, does Accomplished Girl, how much of a pace pressure do we have? How big does this get pushed, right? You look at that last race for Accomplished Girl, went a mile over the Gulfstream Park turf. They went 48 to the half. She's not in the lead. You look at Ruby Nell, she'll go 45 to the half. And the one thing I'd say about Ruby Nell is, mile and an eighth at Del Mar is very different than a mile and a 16th at Gulfstream. I realize it's only a 16th of a mile different, but Gulfstream much more likely to produce a gate-to-wire winner going a mile and 16th than you are a mile and an eighth at Del Mar. I wouldn't be shocked if she is around very, very late. She may not win the race, but she's going to scare some people who don't have her on the ticket, if nothing else.
Yeah, and you got Frankie Dettori riding in one of the best turf jockeys of our lifetime, so he's got that going for her as well. But just not for us in this spot. We will move on. Third leg of the Late Pick 5 Saturday, January 27th at Gulfstream Park, race 11. It's the Fred Hooper Stakes, one of my favorites on this card. It's right there with the 2 Pegasus races. I love this one. We got a field of 12 older males going, of course, a 1-turn mile on the dirt here. Almost had a single, didn't quite do it, but where are you going on top?
I thought this is just a wildly interesting race. I'm going to go 4 deep here. I'm going to use 3 prices and then 1 horse that's pretty logical. Give me Tumba Rumba, the 11 on top here. Saez takes them out for Brian Lynch. Horse is cutting back to 7 furlongs, but 1-for-1 career at 7 furlongs. So like that is a positive. Brian Lynch, by the way, absolutely on fire right now at Gulfstream. 12 for 34 so far in the meet, 35% winners. That's pretty darn good. It's a horse that kind of turned a corner midway through last year. So it was on turf back-to-back times early in 2023, hits the dirt in April at Keeneland 2023, goes back-to-back with wins, then jumps up to stakes company first time, has a little bit of a bounce, but the 3 races after that, absolutely phenomenal. I think this is a horse that has tactical speed. You get Luis Saez, who's a great rider for tactical speed. We're going 1 turn, 7 furlong, should be forwardly placed, so I'm not thinking we're 8, 9 wide trying coming home, and has a kick coming out of longer races as well. I love the price here as well, 8-1, so give me Tumba Rumba on top in this spot.
Yeah, at one point I did consider it, and the marks, and I mean that by capital M marks, not lowercase, you're a bunch of marks. They do love the 11 as well, so you've got them on your side. Doc, I knew I would have bet $1,000 that you were going to say that. We'll talk about that mule in a second. Topic for me, going to the rail, Hijazi, 8-5. I could tell Rodney's not watching this live because we would have heard this horse's name about 18 times by now. But if you remember, after he broke his maiden, on this very show, I came on and said, this is a $3.5 million sprinter. I don't think he's going to do his best work at 2 turns. Look at his form. He is a best at a 1-turn race, and this is a 1-turn race. A very respectable second to Speedboat Beach in the Grade 1 Malibu last time out. Race prior to that was Breeders' Cup Friday undercard. Absolutely dominated off a 210-day layoff. The race before that in the 7 furlong stakes at Keeneland, lost to Corona Bolt. At the time, Corona Bolt was a very strong sprinter, so nothing to shake your head at with that. He drew the rail, and we get Flavian Mother effing Pratt aboard for the first time. You know how excited I get about this, right?
Swing! Swing! Tent pole!
Pole Hijazi.
I don't hate it. I'm using Hijazi too. I like it, and it's logical. Yeah, you get why you want to use Hijazi here. The horse should be your leader out of the gate from the position. I don't love the fact that the 2 Expressman drew right to the outside of Hijazi. It's one of those spots where Expressman decides to go crazy and go nuts for the lead. It's a really bad spot for Hijazi then, because you got to let the 2 cross over. Then the one's kind of got to come out and make his own trip there. So we'll see what happens there with the early part of this race. But I think it would be better for Hijazi if they've drawn like the 4 post or somewhere where you have a little bit more room to maneuver. But like I said, I included the 1. Think it makes sense. For me, number 3 on the ticket, give me the 12 Signator all the way on the outside. This is a horse that's been running at longer distances, but did win in a 1-turn mile at Backwooduck to break the maiden that day. Has run against some pretty good horses since then. I thought the races 2 and 3 back, both very good. Jumps up into stakes company last time out. That was at a mile and an eighth. Was your favorite. Ended up running 4th, but was only a half length back. It was basically a blanket finish with 4 horses in that spot. Taking another step up here. But this is one where I don't think going the 1 turn is really big of an issue. And I do think you're going to have quite a bit of pace early in this race. So it does set up for someone to be able to make a big run late. I think Signator could be that horse. And I don't mind the outside draw when I know we're just going to tip back and we're going to sit, 10th, 11th, somewhere like that, and make one big run down the stretch. So I'll take a price here and take Signature on the cutback 15-1.
And this is the horse that is the reason why I did not single Hijazi. I love it. 2 wins at 1 turn dirt miles, 1-2 straight last fall. Just missed it in 9 furlong dirt route stakes, and you said it. The cutback I think is gonna be perfect for him. You cannot overlook the magic Javier Castellano can cast on some big race days. He has been on fire with the big race performances. So Signature is the other horse I used in here. Too deep, but Mark loves it, Philip loves it, Pedlo loves it, I love it, you love it. Who else do you love in this race?
Man, I wonder what the price is going to be here. I mean, if everyone's on it, you got a 15-1 probably a pipe dream. I am going to a horse that I absolutely hate as my 4th horse on. I'm going to go to the 4 horse, Cyclone Mischief here. Dale Romans into Mischief. What could go wrong here? Look, Cyclone Mischief is a horse that has had tactical speed throughout his career, was in that kind of discussion for a horse that people thought could be a Kentucky Derby horse. I thought his Fountain of Youth was actually a pretty good race. We saw Forte come out of that. I thought his Florida Derby was a pretty good race. Ends up running 3rd there to Forte and Mage. I think this is a logical spot back for Cyclone Mischief going 7 furlongs. I think this horse is good at 1 turn, is going to have some late kick, but we know has the early speed as well. And you're getting 12-1. So for me, it's one of those spots where, like, what horses could benefit from the pace falling apart? And to me, Cyclone Mischief and Signature are 2 of those horses.
Oh boy. Well, okay, I will say this. This is not the worst thing that you could have said was your last horse you were using in here. And it's ironic that Doc is making fun of you when Doc is the one trying to hype up Gilmore. Why? Why ever would you look at Gilmore? At first when I looked, I was like, yeah, Gilmore. And then I remembered it's Gilmore. He leaves himself with way too much to do. He loves to run up and hit the board. This is a pick 5, Doc. We're not trying to get second in a contest here. That's just terrible play. The one race that he's got you could point to, off turf, 3-5 at Saratoga, and he still almost lost. Like that should have been the race where he wins and you go, hey, that's the horse I've been betting every single start for the last 8 starts and finally got the job done. No, he looked like Gilmore. He's Gilmore. He's going to do Gilmore things. No. Well,
at least the price is right. At least you're getting 15.
Sure, you have a better horse in the long shot than that, yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree. I don't love Gilmore here. I like Gilmore after the Woody Stevens. After the Pat Day Mile, but then wasn't able to do anything in the Woody Stevens, and then looked awful in the Amsterdam. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. Like this is a horse that's going to run 3rd a lot, but maybe not win very many races. So yeah, I think Gilmore's got a good shot at the try. Maybe a nice little super filler, but it's tough for me to get to that horse on top. Did you look at Expressman at all? Like this to me was a little one of the wild cards that I couldn't really figure out.
I think maybe because I couldn't figure. I was trying to figure out how he wins. If it's gate to wire, if that's the only way this horse could win, which is the only way he has won. No, Hijazi's right there. Even if Hijazi is not on the lead right away, Pratt is going to have that horse right on Expressman's ass, and he's going to catch him and beat him. He might not win the race, but he will absolutely finish ahead of Expressman if Expressman gets to the lead first.
I guess the other one that I think we got to at least talk about is Accretive. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Who for Brown 8-1 or 5-1? You got Ortiz up. This is the other horse I know a lot of people are going to talk about or going to be using. I kind of struggle with the exact same question that you just have for Expressman with Accretive. Like the world where Expressman wins is that he clears Hijazi and somehow goes gate to wire. I have no idea how Accretive wins this race.
Yeah. I left him off. I look at Accretive usually as like, take out in these big spots. You look at the Vosburg. He got second. Cody's Wish beat him. And then the grade 2 49er I thought was like, okay, if you were that close to Cody's Wish, and that was his final race before the dirt mile, you should have won the 49er, and you dicked around, and Ever So Mischievous and Dr. Ardito both beat you. Like, no, that's was your chance, and you failed.
Yeah, it's hard to me to jump back in at 5-1, especially when we're talking about 15-1 shots that we're interested in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially at 5-1. If he was long shots, which he's never been longer than 5-1 ever, I wouldn't touch him. Giant Game is going. That's the other Dale Romans horse, and it's kind of also why I didn't love Cyclone Mischief. Martin Garcia is Romans' go-to guy down here in Florida, and for a lot of horses. he chose Giant Game, which makes sense. He did win Gate to Wire in the Grade 3 Cornhusker. He beat a great horse in Ain't Life Grand and also Skippy Longstocking, who's in the Pegasus World Cup. But he's not going to win if he goes to the front. And Martin Garcia thought that horse had a better chance than Cyclone Mischief, who he's been aboard before, was aboard last time out. So I'll pass on both of those horses. But it's also, I don't like to trust Dale Romans ever. But at least you're getting a price. Dale Romans as the 5-2 favorite in that allowance race, that was when you go, no, not touching you. Dennington's going to beat you in this spot instead. So at least you're getting a price on Cyclone Mischief.
So Rodney has entered the chat. Now,
I saw that.
We were probably expecting this take. What do you think this pick 3 pays? Hijazi's even money, right? 6 to 5.
Yeah.
Warm Heart is 4 to 5, 3 to 5.
Yeah, I'd guess like 260 for 50 cents.
So you're saying 5 to 1? That's probably about fair. The last race I think is going to be awfully interesting with what the betting aspect of it is. If you don't like National Treasure, then it's a wide open race. I mean, there's really not a ton of horses you can get overly excited about in the Pegasus World Cup.
Yeah, I agree also with Aaron. It's a pretty trashy group outside of the 1 and 12. So if the 1 and 12 both find a way to lose this race, I'm no longer a fan of the Fred Hooper. that's what I'll say.
Tumbawamba. We're gonna be tub thumping all the way to the victory.
But Aaron and Osen are both saying at $8 is what. I don't know if it's 8 for 50 cents or 8 for $1, but either way, it's close, either 4 to 1 or 8 to 1. So yeah, around that range. We got 2 races left, buddy. 2 Pegasus Grade 1 races. First is race 12, the penultimate race on Pegasus World Cup Day. It's the Pegasus World Cup Turf Grade 1 race for 12 older males. Well, I should say 12 older horses going a mile and an eighth because you're 9 to 5 favorite. The horse we are both singling and that I know Aaron Halterman loves as much as we do, Warm Heart, is in here. She gets a 5-pound break because she's a filly facing the boys. To me, Mike, and I'll throw it back to you, if she just brings anything like her last 3 efforts, including when she almost won at the Breeders' Cup, they're all running for second, and it's not even really a question.
Yep. That's pretty much the response here. Let's just talk about the Breeders' Cup race. She attended a pace which was very hot, chasing down an Italian, who is the fastest of the fast that we've seen from a filly perspective onto the turf. She is chasing that horse the entire way, and then almost holds off Inspro, who's like an all-time horse that we're talking about here. Like, that effort alone, when you look at the rest of these, and you're like, okay, now I'll make a case for a tone. No, I will not. Now, you just go through the list. It's like no one even. There is not a way to beat her if she runs back too close to that, because she will be close to the pace. You can't even be like, well, she's going to get a bad trip. She's coming from last. Nope, she's not. She's going to be coming from that first flight. So you're not going to, after chasing an Italian, you're not going to wear her out early by going super fast, because guess what? She did that, and she still outran everybody else. This is a tough race to get around Warm Heart in my mind. I looked at a couple in here. I'm a little interested in integration, the 3-horse, who is 2 for 2 at the distance, a younger horse trying to take a step up. But do we really think that horse is going to be able to beat Cheryl's Spite? A little interest in the 8 here, Masterpiece. A little interest in King's Max. But again, I'm calling out the 3 to 1 shot, the 8 to 1 shot, the 12 to 1 shot. I'm not calling out 20 to 1 shots against a horse I think is going to go off at 3 or 4 to 5. So to me, I'm just going to go ahead and single and move along.
I see Michael Osen's back in the chat. Every time Michael Osen chirps something from down below, this is what I think of.
Hello.
Odie Hush.
Odie Hush. Stay in your corner. King Max is actually my second pick in here. If I was going to take a horse at a long shot or to add with Warm Heart, it would be King Max in here. He had 2 wins to start his career in America. Scratch out synthetic because the trainer said we didn't know if he'd like it, and turns out he didn't like the synthetic up at Woodbine, so they scrapped that out and then went to the Grade 2 Fort Lauderdale. And main event, the horse, he got the win but was by ahead, and he had everything his own way up front. King Max came flying and got past Jerry the Nipper, who'd been in second the whole time, and almost got up for the win. So second off the layoff could be interesting. And then Web Slinger, I like Web Slinger, but Web Slinger likes to finish second and third in these races. When there's a horse in there that's that is an international star, no, he doesn't win. When it's a horse that's that is a superb multiple Grade 1 winner, no, he doesn't do it. Far Bridge beats him, Program Trading beats him. That sort of thing happens. So I'm going to pass on Web Slinger to win. I think he's going to take a lot of money, and I think he is a great use in like second, third, fourth.
Yeah, I think he hits the board. I think you have to look at what courses he's had success over, too. I mean, he ran very well at Churchill, was able to get the win there. He has one race here at Gulfstream against Lesser and was able to win. And I thought his Twilight Derby was actually pretty good at Santa Anita. But none of those courses play like Gulfstream. You have to be so much more forwardly placed if horses are coming home quickly. And he was fortunate when he did win over this course that he faced a group you could close in on. This is not a group you're going to be able to make a ton of ground up late. And that's, for me, one of the big reasons why Web Slinger was just... again, I agree with you. Probably hits the board. Not going to put that horse on top. King Max, I think, is interesting. You at least have some tactical speed there. Like, I look through this. Who do you think makes the lead in here? It's got to be Main Event, right? And then, what doesn't that mean that maybe Catnip goes and that Warm Heart sits in that pocket spot around the first turn? Because Warm Heart is one of the fastest horses early as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got early speed. I think. The way it's set up, I think you could see the 2 Jerry the Nipper go because he's got that inside post and he was forwardly placed in Fort Lauderdale and the same jockey rides back, and he's got a lot of other races too where he's done that. Atone is funny enough, it is projected to be right there with Jerry the Nipper right behind Main Event. That one I don't see. You kind of have to look at, I mean, he's got the Aqueduct race before he won the Pegasus Turf, but he won the Pegasus Turf from mid-pack. And kind of, again, going to what you're saying, Mike, you need to be more forwardly placed when they're coming home fast at Gulfstream on the turf. And then the Pimlico, the dinner party race, like he tried going gate to wire and just couldn't hold on. So, yeah, it sets up well for Warm Heart. And I tell you what, Austin, I will say I definitely agree with you on this one, buddy. I don't care about the distance. This field just does not stack up to Warm Heart any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the 3 to me was the other horse, Integration, and Philip mentioning is Integration going to be too far back here? I don't know. The pace is going to be really interesting. I think that's a big part of this, right? I agree. Atone and Jerry the Nipper, they've shown speed. They could show speed again. Main Event, a logical horse who's going to be on the front. Catnip has some speed from the outside as well. If I'm Integration, I want them to go as fast as possible early because I think that's the best way for Integration to set up for it. And to me, this is your most likely winner here if you're talking about a horse that is not the 9, right? And Integration really lightly raced, only 3 races, 3 for 3 lifetime, multiple graded stakes wins already. But we're jumping up to face older for the first time since this horse broke its maiden back at Colonial. So the waters get a whole lot deeper. I will say this, if you like the 4 at all, you got to love the 3 because the 3 absolutely waxed the 4 last time out. So to me, it's the 9. And if you're in tournaments, you want to play a big try or big exact or big try here, I don't even blame you playing like 9-3 or 9/3/6, something like that if you're trying to move up the leaderboard in the Pegasus World Cup as well.
Or the 8 Master Space Piece, which, by the way, if you see is listed under Sidney Dutrow, that's Chip Dutrow. That's Rick Dutrow's brother. Rick Dutrow he hasn't applied for his Florida trainer's license yet, so they just shipped the horse they just transferred it over to Chip. So it's still a Rick Dutrow horse, and Rick Dutrow off of a longer layoff into a big grade 1 race. We've seen White Abario do it from time to time. So yeah, I think that's something to consider as well. But Mark Elliott, before we move on, I did want to call this out. Integration is a beast. Running sub 5.5. Last 16th, all 3 races. That's a horse with a whole bunch of giddy up. You just need to giddy up a little closer, a little earlier.
Yeah, and that's good. The question is going to be the trip, right? And then the step up. I mean, obviously, jumping up from running grade 2s and grade 3s to running against Warm Heart is quite the bit of a step up in class. And the thing is, Warm Heart's going to be in front of Integration. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So can you run down that classy of a horse when you're going to be up against it a little bit from a pace perspective?
All right, this was a great discussion, and we've got one more race to discuss. It is time for what?
You didn't say penultimate, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right, I missed it.
I absolutely did.
That'll be the penultimate time I miss it this time.
It's time for the main event, Mike Somich.
Like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event.
That is race 13, the grade 1 Pegasus World Cup, and Aaron turned the loop back on. Damn it. Stop it. The grade 1 Pegasus World Cup, race 13 at Gulfstream Park. This is the main event here. We'll stop screwing around. 12 older horses plus Castle Chaos, LOL, routing a 1.125 miles on the dirt. You've got to decide. National Treasure, First Mission. Who are you putting on top?
Give me First Mission. I'm going to go with the 8 here. I am not a National Treasure guy unless National Treasure has everything to himself. He had that in the Dirt Mile. He had that in the Preakness. Those are clearly his best 2 races of his career. I don't think he has that today. And I think that makes the difference. I don't think National Treasure gets out front. And so I think you're end up seeing like a 4th type, 5th type performance somewhere in there. So I'll take First Mission on top. I think is sitting on a pretty big one here.
I agree with you. The, First Mission is my top pick. Brad Cox thinks that this is his horse of the year candidate, and that's a big thing to say when you lost the last race to Trademark. So an interesting move there, and I'm not poo-pooing on Trademark. That was a good effort from both of those horses. But First Mission just feels like he is set up to have a big year. We talked about it last week when we covered Fairgrounds. It's like you said, you were trying to play against Saudi Crown. One of your things was, why is he here when the Pegasus is next week and they're going to Saudi? And I said, because he has First Mission for the Pegasus. This is his horse. This is the big dog in the Brad Cox barn. This is true. Brad Cox does love every horse he trains, but for me, it's just one of those things where we've had this feeling for a while since he won the Lexington. First Mission is he's just special. There's something about this horse when you watch him run, you're like, that horse, when he gets just a little bit older, man, he is going to be, hopefully, a beast. So we both have him on top.
Yes, we do. And I actually put the 5 Trademark in second. Funny you mentioned that. I'm going to take a little bit of a shot here, 15-1. Look, that last race in the Clark was really good. That's one of the big selling points to me. Also ran well 4 back at Monmouth, going the mile and 16th distance. We're stretching out today, obviously going the mile and 1/8, but that's what the Clark was run at. This is a horse who has tactical speed, but can also come from behind. And so I like the fact that we are sitting in one of these spots where there's multiple ways for Trademark to be able to win, but he's not going to be way out the back. You're either going to be sitting there in 4th or 5th, or you're going to be sitting there in 8th or 9th. Either way, you're going to be able to make a run and just need to really replicate that last race. And I think he's as good as anybody in here, and you're getting a 15-1 price tag on it.
So one of the things for Trademark that his trainer Vicky Oliver said actually earlier today is that her horses generally just run terribly at Gulfstream, especially on the dirt, and she wasn't sure why that is, which is a weird anomaly when you've got a barn that can click at 11% overall, but she's 0 for 4 in the last year at Gulfstream with just one horse even hitting the board. She did send Trademark in the day after his final work, so he's been there since Sunday, trying to get acclimated to it. I do genuinely like this horse. He is a hard competitor. Other than the Grade 2 Fayette, he's shown up every single time on dirt this year, especially in the fall. He's been building towards a big, kind of race here in the Pegasus. But then I looked at the Grade 2 Fayette, and I was like, man, that was when he faced, I thought, other than last time out in the Clark, I was like, he really faced some solid horses there, and Il Miracolo got him, Speed Bias got him, O'Connor won, and O'Connor's not bad, and we'll talk about him in a second, but I couldn't get over the Grade 2 Fayette when I thought that he really had kind of every chance and just ran like crap, and that was when he was at a spot at Keeneland where he hasn't run well before multiple times, and then Vicky Oliver's talking about, well, my horses don't really run well at Gulfstream Park on the dirt, so he's a nice horse. I like him underneath. I just don't like him to win.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Fayette was so bad, I don't even care. Like when you have
that's true.
Races, it's just like, nope, that horse just sucked today. But every other race around it shows you the horse is a good horse. That's the one I'm crossing off. I'm not going to cross off one of the victories. I'm going to cross off the one anomaly effort, right? And you've got 4 efforts in there, 3 very good, 1 not so good. And it was laughably bad as well. It's not like it was like, oh, the horse ran okay, but it just couldn't quite get it done. No, it was just a laughably bad effort. So those are ones that I think are pretty easy to just draw a line through. As far as Vicky Oliver and a horse is not running well at Gulfstream Park, we'll see what happens. Trainers lie, man.
Yeah. Well, and he's never been here, so it's like she even said, but you don't know how he's going to do it. He's never run here, and I'm not saying it has to be a reason why you don't use him. It's just a little interesting. And
it's funny because like even the Keeneland thing, it's like, well, yeah, but he also ran a 93 buyer, winning $125,000 optional allowance at Keeneland too. So like he's shown up at Keeneland before too, as well. And so it's just interesting when you have these good races and bad races. That was October 20th, 2000.
He did. Thank you. I missed that one.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. Yep.
So you have a really good race too. So it's like, okay, some of these horses just show up on some days and run better than others. And Trademark's one of those where on his good days, I think he's as good as anybody in this field. For me, third horse in, I've used O'Connor, the 2 horse. This is a horse that likes Gulfstream, 2 for 5 at Gulfstream, 2 for 5 at the distance. I thought was very good in the Harlan's Holiday last time out. Looks good in the Fayette there at Keeneland that we've talked about a little bit as well. The distance isn't a problem. This horse likes to show up, especially here at Gulfstream Park, and run a big number. I like the trip again here. Like I think you're going to see quite a bit of early speed. I don't think National Treasure is going to get to the lead. And if National Treasure doesn't get to the lead because you've got other horses out there, it means that this thing is going to be hyped up a little bit. And that sets up well for someone like O'Connor who can sit mid pack.
Yeah, a nice horse, and I like to see him here. I didn't like, I have Skippy Longstocking over O'Connor here, and one of the reasons is Tyler Gaffleon's been aboard both the horses in the last 2 races, won both races on O'Connor, including the Harlan's Holiday, which is the local prep for this race, and he decided to stay with Skippy Longstocking. He's a good horse, and it makes sense that he's here, but he's a grade 2 horse. He's going to show up. He wins the Fayette. He wins the Grade 3 Harlan's Holiday. He runs really well in the Charlestown Classic behind Skippy Longstocking. I think there's too much in here that's going to be better than him. But you got Paco, who's going to play Paco ball in a $3 million Grade 1 race when this horse is trying to come from mid-pack. So you at least have that on your side.
Yeah, you never know who's going to punch.
Still one of my favorite moments. You didn't know what Mike's talking about. Paco and Irad got into it on the racetrack. Paco was mad at Irad, like we all tend to get sometimes when he just bullies a horse out of the way to go win. And literally on the scales, Paco just cold cocks him right in the face. There's a beautiful screen grab of somebody got of that one. Anyways, if you ever get mad at Irad for losing you a ticket or knocking you out of something or giving a bad ride, just go look at that image for a few seconds. Trust me, it makes you feel a lot better. I went too deep here. You can call me a chalk eating weasel, but it's partly why I'm playing $1 ticket for $80. I'm going to use National Treasure here.
Each.
And First Mission to me is the best horse overall. I think he has the best chance of winning. National Treasure has Bob Baffert. He's run four straight bullets over at Santa Anita. Just is absolutely breathing fire, including 46-4 in his final work for this spot. And you have Flavian Pratt. And if you remember the Breeders' Cup Classic, Arabian Night drew all the way out in post 12. And it's like, there's some speed. I don't know if he's going to get over there. What did Pratt do? He said, this is a quarter horse race. And he had the lead by a good length before anybody else had even figured out, oh shit, we're supposed to be racing right now. National Treasure wins when he is put to the lead and when he is wearing blinkers. And since Bob finally stopped screwing around with the stupid blinker experiment, and since he switched to Pratt, who is going to send him when Johnny V can a little lazy sometimes, Flavian Pratt on a speed horse that he's going to send. It's Baffert having this horse absolutely juiced up and ready to run, and he's got the blinkers on. Sometimes you just see a horse like National Treasure get on the lead, like in the Preakness Stakes, where it's like, oh yeah, Mage is going to get this horse, no problem. And then he just kept going, and he just kept going, and he just kept going. There's no Arcangelo in this race. There's no Forte, no Tapatrice. He's not trying to go 1.5 miles. If this was 1.16 miles, this would be my top pick because at Gulfstream, that definitely favors speed horses. I think he is dangerous enough with those workouts and with the jockey and with the blinkers on. You've got to use him on the ticket.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. I'm not going to. Because, Rodney, if I'm chucking someone, we're not defensively using the horse here. We're going to leave him off. I don't think National Treasure wins. I just don't. If anyone goes with National
Who's y'all? I haven't talked shit once about National Treasure. Rodney gets a little bit of a bee up his booty when anybody talks about a race that he has a horse that he loves. And if you don't mention that horse immediately and slobber on it like Rodney does, he gets very offended. Yeah. So just relax. Just calm down. Like I told you on YouTube, just breathe. Just breathe. It'll be okay, buddy.
Yeah, I don't love the idea of using both National Treasure and First Mission. So for me, it was picking between the two because I do think they're going to take the mass majority of the money here. So I took First Mission there. I'd used O'Connor. We already talked about that. Used me some trademark. Last horse on for me was Grand Aspen here. I went to the 9 horse who ran second to O'Connor last time, was forwardly placed and ended up not being able to get the job done. You go back to the mile and 8th race at Churchill. I thought that was a very good race. Now we're getting second off there. This is Todd Pletcher. It's Jose Ortiz. This is a horse who I think will be forwardly placed, if not on the lead. I think this is one of the ones that could cost National Treasure the chance to get the W here because I think that Grand Aspen's going to absolutely send as well. And with Dynamic One and his brother on a dead closer, I wouldn't be shocked if Grand Aspen is told, go and just go and just go and do not let National Treasure get an easy lead. So I think Grand Aspen has a shot to take this field gate to wire.
I don't think he can go gate to wire, but I think he is interesting, and I don't think he needs the lead, right? Like you've seen him run well, win multiple races from a little bit off. Let me ask you about the Harlan's Holiday because I said, I watched that for O'Connor to see how he did in that spot too, and Grand Aspen had the lead. Do you think it was like the mile on the 16th? Did that catch him? Like what was the reason for him kind of not being good enough to stay with O'Connor, who you are using?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just got outfinished. It was that simple. He was not the best horse that day. I think that the added distance means that you're going to go a little bit slower up front, which could be a good thing for Grand Aspen. And we haven't mentioned Hoist the Gold either, who obviously is going to go to the
I was trying not to. I was trying so hard not to talk about him.
We all hate Hoist the Gold. I think we both dislike Hoist the Gold. Not in a hate, oh no, I want something bad to happen to the horse, as in I don't get Hoist the Gold right ever, so I don't really want Hoist the Gold in races. But in this spot, Hoist the Gold is probably going to go to the lead as well. And so it's like, okay, if the 4 and the 7 go, maybe the 9 can sit right behind and be able to get a really nice trip. If the 4 and 7 don't go, the 9 has a shot at being speed and being tactical here. I don't think Skippy Longstocking goes. I know Nick mentioned that. Skippy Longstocking from that post is going to try and stalk. Going to try and sit like the Florida Derby-esque trip that he had where he's sitting 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there, versus trying to be more forwardly placed. So I would expect that it's really going to come down to the 4, the 7, and the 9. And I like the fact that I get outside speed in this position, because if the 4 and 7 go, the 9 tucks. If they don't go, the 9 goes. The 7 to me, National Treasure, is just in a world of hurt with the inside and outside speed around him.
Yeah, usually Baffert bitches when his horses draw the rail at St. Anita, which happens quite a lot because it's 5-horse field, so you got a 20% chance of drawing it, Bob. Start to learn math. But Skippy Longstocking, I think, is going to be in a great position to stalk, and I think he's going to have a better trip here than he did in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile when he kind of did all of the early work applying pressure to National Treasure. He chased National Treasure through fractions way too fast for Skippy to go, and Skippy's not a mile horse. And so, you see that he faded and was 3 3/4 lengths behind National Treasure. But if you have horses in here that are going to apply pressure to National Treasure, if you think National Treasure is going to get pressured on the front or it's going to be a big speed duel, I think that it really benefits a horse like Skippy Longstocking, who I agree with you is going to kind of take back and just stalk a little bit.
Yeah, and so the pace is going to be just wildly interesting in this race. Because I will say this: if the 7's loose, I think the 7 wins. I just don't think the 7 gets loose. I don't think National Treasure gets the trip that he wants, and he's been able to have that trip in his 2 best races of his career.
Dr. Miranda says she picked Hoist the Gold to win, and she has a text saying that if Hoist the Gold wins, she gets to take over Jared's position at the Racing Dude. So, oh boy, I've got that to look forward to on Saturday as well. I could have a new boss.
Hey, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to...
You sure? You sure you don't want to say anything?
I'm good. That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for tuning in, and we really appreciate each and every one of you, even if I threw some shade at you. Really appreciate everybody for being part of this community and for the discourse and the discussion. If you've watched us a lot, you know that we're like, it's horse racing. We're wrong more often than we are correct, and so we had people come on and hype up Art Collector last year, and we disagreed, and what happened? Art Collector went out and won, and those people got paid. So if you've got strong opinions, especially on a big card like this, where there's going to be some heavy favorites, don't be afraid to take some swings. With that being said, here's our tickets. We'll read them out loud for the audio listeners. I'll start, and remember, it's $1 base for me. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 9, 10 with 2, 7, 9, 11 with 1, 12, single the 9, and finish up with 7, 8, $80 for me, Mr. Somich. I'm going to play a 50-cent ticket here. Give me the 1, 3, 10 with the 4, 8, 9 with the 1, 4, 11, 12 with 9 with 2, 5, 8, 9 for 50 cents. It'll cost $72.
Over at racingdudes.com, we've got the betting Bible for the Pegasus World Cup featuring Aaron and Jared's exact plays for Saturday. So make sure you go check that out. Full previews for the Pegasus World Cup and the World Cup Turf here and on the YouTube channel. And Blinkers Off will be live later this evening to talk all things Pegasus, of course. So if you're not done talking about it, and I know I'm not, tune back in for Blinkers Off later this evening. Before we get out of here, I know we're running a little bit over, but Mike, you've got something very important that you wanted to discuss today.
So they announced the rules at NYRA for the Belmont at Saratoga, and it is wildly frustrating. I don't know if anyone so the 2 key rules that they took away from this meet, this 4-day meet. First off, Magic, we want to talk about ticket pricing? Because I know you're not happy about the ticket pricing.
Well, I just thought it was a joke, but yeah, go ahead. The whole thing's a joke.
Anyway, you get $10 off, which is basically the cost of entry on Thursday if you want to buy the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday package. So it's ridiculous. You're not really getting any money. But 2 of the staples. I've been going to Saratoga for 40 years. 2 of the staples, and I'm 40 years old, so literally every year of my life, at Saratoga that make it so unique are the picnic tables in the back and the fact you can bring your own cooler in and you're able to bring in food, booze, whatever you want into the racetrack so that you can actually go there with a family of 4, family of 5, whatever it is. In our case, a family of 20. And you run it in the morning, grab these picnic tables, and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to sit there and drink and have fun and hang out. And you can decide where you want your picnic tables to be. So you can take, for instance, our 96-year-old grandma can go to the racetrack because she can roll her wheelchair in because we get a table really close to the gate, right? There's ways that you could do this for families. Well, with the Belmont, there is no running for tables, which is absolutely atrocious. Instead, you can enter a lottery and you can get one for free. They were free before. You just had to run for them and show up at 6 a.m, which is like one of the coolest experiences you can do in horse racing. And oh, by the way, you can bring in alcohol. So they made it, they completely priced people out because the alcohol there is like, and I laugh because people get all pissed off about it because it's like $18 for a drink. It's like, yeah, but you can bring in beer for free. So why are you complaining about what it costs to buy a drink? Just show up with your booze and you're good. It is ridiculous that you're not, in this case, when you have all of these people given the opportunity to go see a new racetrack, right? And I realize, yeah, people know about Saratoga, but the Belmont brings a specific uniqueness to it. To not show your best self, to legitimately to sit in a meeting and be like, you know what, guys, let's take 2 of the things away from us that makes us super unique in the racing world, and let's do that on Belmont Day is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Like I cannot say how much it pissed me off to literally take away the picnic tables and be able to run for them and get your seat and not letting you bring booze in because you're just literally pricing people out and not showing your best foot. It just it pisses me off so much that this is what we're doing for the Belmont.
Nothing says, come support our special 4-day meet that's hours away from where everybody in the industry is based, like saying, while you come over here, we're just going to make it as miserable as possible. I mean, if you've played Saratoga like a full card and you're betting every race, you need alcohol because at some point you just are so wrong or get screwed out of something, or as Rodney was talking about, the stewards do their inconsistency thing. You just want to drink and they're just making it not possible. Yeah, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Hotel rooms are already ridiculously expensive. It's going to be a mess for Saratoga to put this on because a lot of people who work at Saratoga Racetrack, who sell programs, who are the ticket people that write tickets behind the counter, who sell concessions, that's their summer job. That's usually from mid-July to end of August. So to try and get all of these people there for a weekend to do this is also going to be an absolute train wreck from a NYRA perspective. And the thing is like people said, oh, I doubt Saratoga had much to say about it. NYRA is the one who makes the rules for both of these tracks. And they specifically cited, well, the reason we're doing this is because it's a Belmont race. We were going to adopt Belmont's rules for these 4 days. And it's just like, why? Why are we taking the fun stuff away when we don't have to? Because we don't have to, guys. We could just make this fun. Do you know how cool it would be to be there in the morning at 5 a.m. outside Saratoga's gates with a Triple Crown on the line and you're about to rush in with probably 2,000 other people that love horse racing and then watch every Belmont at your picnic table that you ran for while you're waiting for your family to come in. They're bringing coolers with booze and with food and like, that's all gone. That's all gone. It's just, I don't think people realize how many family reunions and things like that happen at this racetrack where you need 3 tables. Well, now you're in a lottery. The likelihood of one family getting 3 picnic tables is like 0. So instead of having an opportunity to have a family reunion at the racetrack and run in and get those tables in the backstretch, that's taken away from it. Like it's just a real shame that NYRA decided to make these rules.
And then I'm reading this article on Blood Horse talking about it. Like their argument, NYRA's argument for why this is okay is because it's the standard on-track policy protocol at Belmont Park. You're not at fucking Belmont Park. You're at Saratoga. Like, why is this a thing? It's so stupid.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't even care about the distance change. Like to me, look, the Triple Crown, everyone complains when it doesn't get changed, and then everyone complains when it does get changed. It needs to be spread out. It needs to be shrunk.
Nobody's winning the Triple Crown this year anyway.
Right. Like, look, just give me the best horses in 3 races. I'm happy. If they're all a mile and a quarter, so be it. That's fine. Like, you know, like to me, I'm not as upset about that. For me, what pisses me off is when you have something great and you intentionally water it down for absolutely no reason. It's just dumb, especially with a sport that needs to accentuate the positives and the good things out there. And you're taking away the good things, some of the good things. There's still other good things about Saratoga, but why would you go to the Belmont now and not go to a Saratoga weekend? It makes why in the world would you do that? It costs so much more money to go to the Belmont. You can go and run for tables. You can bring your own booze. You can do why would you go to this festival now? You're not saving money on tickets. It's $50 to go to the Belmont, and then you have to win a lottery to be able to get a seat. Like, it's ridiculous that they would take this stance.
We had the same when I worked in minor league baseball, and granted it's minor league baseball, but like the whole point is to get butts in seats, hotel, heads in beds, get people in there, and they will spend money. Give them opportunities to spend money. If you make it seem like it's a good deal they're getting to go, they're going to be a lot more apt to bet, to buy, to drink, to eat. Like, lots of that is going to happen. Think about we talk about with the tracks that lower their takeout. Like, if you get more of a churn going, people are going to churn more with you. That's what's going to happen. So, yeah, it's whatever. It's horse racing.
It goes into the takeout discussion when you talk about churn and needing to there's a bunch of different aspects of it. This is something that's scary for me because Kevin's right. They have been talking about this for a while, that this could possibly be a test run for the no alcohol rule at the Saratoga meet. Saratoga is one of the only racetracks that you can bring alcohol in without sneaking it in. I mean, let's be honest. You just throw some Captain in some Coke bottles, or you throw some, you throw some rum in some water bottles, whatever. There's ways around this. I'm not, I'm not crazy, but it's nice when you don't have to worry about it. I am concerned that it's a test run, that at some point they just decide, you know what, we're not going to deal with it,
Yeah. Well, we're happy you dealt with us, and with the all of us kind of ranting about this. We all agree it's pretty stupid. And hey, guess what? It's horse racing. This is not going to be the last time we ever say this, unfortunately. But it was definitely not stupid of you to spend the last hour and 10 minutes with us. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to get out of here so that you can take a little bit of a break and get ready for Blinkers Off with Aaron and Jared later. Follow us on Twitter. I am at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Check out the inside, that's the old title, the betting Bible for the Pegasus World Cup over at racingdudes.com. It is up and available. Pre-sale's on. I don't know if it's actually available right now. I haven't checked my email, but it should be available quite soon. Any final words before we get out of here, Mike?
Let's have a weekend, baby. Let's go.
Let's have a good time. Till next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Live show Saturdays. See you then.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by racingdudes.com.